Dave here with Half Dozen Customs. Ran out of welding gas on the welder, so pulled in a project that I was working on a few weeks ago. My little stand that I made for my belt sander, disc sander, tabletop setup that I have. I built that stand for it. Made a video about making that stand. Got it all painted up, as you can see, and I'm getting ready. I'm going to add some pinstriping to it. So how I do my pinstriping, I print something up. This is out of a book that I have. It's called Babo. So I print this up out of Babo. I do have a couple other ones that I'm going to do on here that you'll get to see. That I actually pulled off the internet. When I want stuff to match symmetrical side to side, and I'm putting multiple images on there that are the same image, like I'm gonna do, pinstriping on the right side of it and on the left side of it, and I want them to match. I print it out, so that way, I know it matches. I can pinstripe without having to print it out, my own designs, but usually I do kind of, I don't know, like a tribal design. It's just what flows with me. Nothing symmetrical. Can't make both sides match unless I do one side and then I take a copy of it and I trace it over to the other side. So, but what I'm going to do on this, I printed them out. I'm going to show you how I transfer it from a piece of paper over to whatever it is that I'm pinstriping on, and then I'll show you how I pinstripe it. Now, I am by far not the best pinstriper. I have taken a couple classes. There's a guy from the Chicagoland area named Jive. He's been doing it for as long as I've known him and way before. So he was probably pinstriping when he was my age. And so I've taken his classes. He showed me the ropes, showed me how to do it. I've pinstriped a couple of things and made it in some magazines. I've seen a lot of online car show stuff that had some of my work in it. That work I did back in my drinking days. I was very smooth and fluent with my lines, and it was a lot easier for me to pinstripe when I had a few drinks in me. Now I'm sober, and I had to teach myself all over again how to pinstripe. And that fluid motion, that nice flow that I had before, I have a hard time with it now. There's really just nothing I can do about it. I've changed up a lot of my brushes to kind of correct that non-fluid motion that I lost, or that I don't have anymore. So that fluid motion that I lost. So I have a lot of money invested in my brushes just to make sure that I can get in there and get it done. So you'll get to see how I do it. Maybe it'll help somebody learn along the way, showing them how I do it. So here we go. Let's get started. So I'm going to do this one over here. This one I'll keep for maybe a future project. This one's really busy. There's a lot going on in this one. I more like my style. What I like is the very simple, clean, open look. When it gets super busy like that, to me it just looks like a jumbled mess. So I have a piece of drywall here, something soft. You can use, I had an old wooden table back in the day that I used to use the wooden table to do this. Drywall works really good because it's a nice soft background. But I have these. I ordered these from my paint shop. You can also get them on Amazon. I've seen them on Amazon too. They have different wheels. You know, get a good size wheel there, and then you got a couple of smaller ones. You can see this one's, you know, a lot bigger than the other ones. But they perforated, I don't think I'm saying that right, perforated holes in the paper, kind of like the spur on the back of a cowboy boot. So smaller ones are for doing the smaller tight lines, like if I was to do this one, I'd have to use a smaller one. The big, where did I throw that? Oh. So I'm going to use a bigger one for this because it's more of an open, bigger open area. They also make this really cool machine. You would have to lay the paper on metal, and it's an electronic perforator. Still not saying that right. But what it is it creates an electric shock that goes from your pencil that you're holding in your hand to the metal table underneath, and every time it makes that electric pulse, it pokes a hole in the paper, so you can just run you know, your pencil over the line, and it sparks like a spark plug on a car, and every time it sparks, it's poking a hole in the paper. So really cool machine. I've looked into them. They're pretty expensive. I don't do enough pinstriping to justify spending that much money. But just roll this wheel along the line, and it's poking holes in it. And you just want to follow the lines. Doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but as long as you stay on the lines, you know, you should match side to side, as long as whatever you printed matches side to side. You know, this book that I got this one out of, you know, it was a guy who just drew them up and he printed them out and he put it in a book. This is somebody's hand-drawn thing. This isn't computer generated or nothing, so it's not perfect side to side. And you know, when I put it on there, you know, my pinstriping's not perfect, but it's not supposed to be perfect. It's done by hand, and that's what, you know, makes this pinstriping stuff so cool, because it is freehand, hand done. Well, I guess this isn't freehand, I'm tracing it, but you know, it's done by hand. Whether I'm tracing it or not, it's still done by hand. And it's a, you know, it was a lost art for a while. I see a lot of people are picking it back up, and they got new styles and new designs, and you know, there's people out there that are just doing awesome work. But for a while, it was kind of like a lost art. Like, nobody was really getting into it. Now I follow tons of different pinstriping pages, and yeah, there's a lot of people doing it again. You know, you can see this one here on my this is my pinstriping box. I got a couple of them. I have a couple of them that have paints in them and different brushes and different tools, and these are some of the brushes that I use. So they're very high quality painting brushes, all different sizes, different tips. The way that they bend is, you know, a big thing. Like, these are very, very soft bristle brushes, so that you get a good flow with them. You got to make sure that you take good care of them and keep them clean, because these things, they're not cheap. So, and I see a lot of people using these brushes nowadays, but they have these Mac brushes. These are horsehair or squirrel hair. This is a normal pinstriping brush. So this is it's a sword brush. This is what most people use. It's a sword striper. This is a 000 Mac. So a lot of people use these. I can use these too. I like them. They're good. I like them when they're brand new. Once they get used a few times, I really don't. I just struggle with them once they get used a few times. You know, some of the people I know that do this stuff, they've been using the same brush for years. So also, I'm not. Back when I was drinking, I didn't really take good care of my stuff. So I was very known to use a brush once and then just buy a new one. Now I save them because they're expensive, but the guy who taught me how to do this stuff used to do lettering way back in the day, and I tried to get him to teach me to do lettering, and he, you know, he told me that he just doesn't do that stuff anymore. So I had to teach myself how to do lettering. Excuse me. I had to teach myself how to do lettering, and I do lettering kind of a very similar way. With his perforated edges, or printing it out and cutting it out and then tracing around it. Once you get it in this, or you get a copy that you're ready to trace around, they have these pencils. They're Stabilio, Stabilo is who makes them, and they're for paper, glass, plastic, metal. You can get them in different colors. I usually use white because most of the time the stuff that I'm pinstriping is not white, and the white stands out very nice on it. I got a couple different ones here. This one's made by Generals, and it's a white charcoal pencil. So once you get this perforated stuff on there, I'll show you. I use a pounce pad, and then you go on and trace it with those pencils, and then it the same thing that I kind of do with my lettering. I get it printed out how I want it, tape it up on whatever I'm doing, trace around it with those pencils, and then you can letter inside your pencil marks. I do silver leafing and gold leafing. I actually have leafing in every color imaginable, which I don't see a lot of people doing that. A lot of people stick with the gold leaf or the silver leaf, or I forget that. I want to say maybe it's copper leafing, where it's the copper look and it's colored, multicolored, like it's aged copper. Really cool looking stuff. I have that stuff too. I can do the machine turning. I have all the stuff for that. I need to get some velvet for doing some of that stuff. I use 3000 grit. What is it? It's 3000 grit. It's like round DA stuff for wet sanding. Trizac pad, that's what it's called. Trizac, 3000 grit Trizac. I use that to do my machine turning. But I think that velvet, if you use velvet, it's a way smoother machine turn. The 3000 grit kind of, if you're not careful, it can ruin the leafing. So you gotta be very careful with it. So it's a little time consuming. I watch some of these guys that show up at car shows, and they pinstripe cars while they're at the shows, and I watch them whip some of these things out, and it's just, it amazes me how that brush has just become an extension of them. They can just whip them out like it's nothing. It's just part of their daily routine. I wish I was that good, but I don't do it enough. I've been doing it for, I don't know, probably 15 years now, but I maybe only do a few a year. Where some of these people, that's all they do. They do it every day. Those are the people that can just whip them out like they're nothing, and they see it. They have that vision. When it comes to me doing like flames on a car, or old tribal graphics from the 90s, mini truck and stuff, like I have a vision for it. I can see it before I'm doing it. When I was drinking, I had that with pinstriping. I could just see it, and I lost it. So unfortunately, maybe one day it'll come back to me, but until then, I just work slow, take my time. No need to rush nothing. I'm in no hurry. that. It's just too bright. Make it a little. Let me try turning off the lights, maybe. No, it's just still too bright. Well, there's a bunch of little pinholes in it. I know you can't really see it in the camera, but a bunch of little pinholes. So I'm making this one. This one's going to be a 3-parter. So I've used this one before. This one's already got the perforated holes in it, and I'm gonna lose these. I don't know. Can you see that in the camera? Okay. So I'm gonna lose these bottom pieces, and I'm just gonna use that top section. So, and then this will go somewhere in here and connect with that. It'll go on both sides, and I'll use that on the sides of the box. So, you know, it's going to be a good sized piece of artwork. You know, it'll be a couple feet long, about 8 inches tall, a couple feet long. So, and then the wife just brought me these out off the printing press. So, I'm not putting a T on it, but there's pinstriping. This is for the corner. So, like, you know, it would go in the corner. And then, you know, I'll put one in the lower corner, the upper corner. And then like this, I call these tramp stamps. You know, you go underneath the little lock. On my table over there, there's a name tag piece on it, and then the door handle that you use to open the drawer. So this piece will go underneath the handle, and then I'll put these in each corner of the drawer. So you guys don't need to see how I perforate those again. I'll get these all perforated, and when I go to pounce pad them onto the cabinet, I'll turn the camera back on. See you guys soon.